City in the community moves with City youth to empower healthier lives through football.
But what does that mean for people like me?
Or me.
And us.
It means engaging in programmes that keep me physically active.
As well as prioritising all our mental health.
It means letting City youth take the lead.
While inspiring people of all ages.
It means showing me how I can learn in different ways.
And showing me all the different ways I can teach.
It means creating real pathways for employment.
And real opportunities to make a difference.
It means being given a level playing field.
And giving me the skills and knowledge I need to level up.
It's helping me see how we can bring the best out in our students.
So I can see my full potential.
It means helping me to build my own future.
And helping me to build theirs.
It's a place to meet people who I've had shared experiences with.
And a place to share new experiences.
It means having a safe space for playing football with me and my friends.
That's also a safe space to ask for help.
It means challenging myself to impact others.
And teaming up to become as impactful as possible.
It's about feeling confident in my own skin.
And feeling proud to wear the badge.
Healthy people.
Healthy futures.
Healthy communities.
It's healthier life through football.
That's what City in the community means to us.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to West Reception. The team coach has arrived, so make some noise for Manchester City! And off the coach first, our manager. Give it up for Pep Guardiola! As we welcome our first player, make some noise for Rodri! Followed by Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva. Give it up for John Stones, Aymeric Laporte, Rico Lewis. Following Rico, we've got Nathan Hake, we've got Cole Palmer. And next up the blue carpet, City's October Player of the Month, Manuel Akanji, followed by Stefanaki Ortega and Scott Carson. And it's great to see him back. Make some noise for Calvin Phillips. Followed by Ederson, our captain Ilkay Gundogan. Following Ilkay, we've got Sergio Gomez, Julian Alvarez and Riyad Mahrez. And our number 10, give it up for Jack Grealish. And at number 17, Kevin De Bruyne. He's one of our own, Phil Foden. And now at number 9, Erling Haaland.
A very good evening and welcome along to Matchday Live with me, Cel Spellman. So great to be with you tonight and thank you so much for joining us. We are live from the Etihad Stadium ahead of our Carabao Cup fixture against Chelsea. Now, last time we met Chelsea in the Carabao Cup was 2019. You might remember it. We won on penalties 4-3. Of course, we're going to be hoping for a big win tonight to all but put us through into the next round. And you're going to see to my left of me before that what a show we've got coming up over the next hour, because I've got to say, so excited about this lineup. We've got Joleon Lescott there at the end. Of course, manager of our women's team, Gareth Taylor. So great to have you back on. And Laura, you're making your Matchday Live debut. What an absolute pleasure. Joleon, great to see you. Obviously, we're going to hope for another big win tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Tough game, though. I think Graham put out a strong team. He needs to win. It leaves some pressure on himself, but I'm expecting us to win this comfortably overall because, yeah, if they do make changes, ours are stronger and more accustomed to the rhythm that we play at.
It's funny, obviously, remember we've had so much success in this cup over the years, didn't we, Gareth? The players will be wanting to get their hands back on that trophy that they've been used to having for all that time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an important trophy and one that the club really takes seriously, and I think you can see by the lineup we have, and you know the fact that it's a potential of extra time and penalties to settle it tonight. A home tie is good for us, but I think looking at the bench, it's a very strong bench as well.
Laura, we get predictions at the end of the show, but are you feeling quite confident in City this evening, do you think, if in the game against Chelsea?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's gone for a great lineup and more than enough to win the game, I think.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's see that lineup then. We've had a little sneak peek here in the studio. Let's bring it to you guys at home. Our starting 11 looks like this. Stefan Ortega comes into the sticks for Ederson, and then a back four consisting of Rico Lewis, Ruben Diaz, Aymeric Laporte, and Gomez. Then in the middle, we have got Rodrigo, Ilkay Gundogan captaining the side. We're going to have a little chat in the studio about who do we think will be the third player in the middle. Possibly Palmer. We saw that, didn't we, a couple of games ago. And then a forward three of Jack Grealish, Riyad Mahrez and Joleon Alvarez. As we then look to the bench, we've got Ederson on there. And what a treat to see that man's name back in the squad. Calvin Phillips returns from that shoulder injury. He's fit enough to make the bench. John Stones, Nathan Ake, Erling Haaland, we saw him arriving before. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Manuel Akanji, of course, our October Player of the Month, and Phil Foden completes the bench. Joleon, give me that middle of the pitch. Cole Palmer, do you think, to partner Rodri and Gundogan?
Yeah, I do. More so because Riyad can only play on the right for us, and Jack tends to play on the left. Jack may drop into the middle, but again, with Cole starting there against Seville, I'm expecting him to start there tonight. So it's a position he's played, he's familiar with, so no surprises for him.
What did you make of that performance from him in Seville? Obviously, with we were so used to seeing him on the wing. How did you think he fared in the middle?
I think it was good. I think there was moments when he showed his quality. He's probably not what we've seen of him in recent weeks, but again, it's difficult. It's the circumstances of the game play a factor to that, and also for Cole to come in and look comfortable, and let's not forget he's 20 years old and he's one of his first starts, so that is a positive in itself. He's not going to come and be the star or the best player every game, so for me it was a positive performance.
Gareth, you mentioned Rico there, Joleon. Of course, you're going to know there's some of the academy lads as well. I mean, it must be such a proud moment for the club, and obviously so great to see on there. Obviously, you're looking at Rico Lewis, Cole Palmer, Foden's on the bench. I mean, it wasn't in our academy, of course, Gomez, but only 21. A great youth contingent that we're really starting to see at City.
Yeah, for sure. I think Phil's been the real flag bearer for the academy for a number of years now, and to see other players who've been in and around it have gone on to play elsewhere as well. Don't forget that. I think it's great though to see Cole being in at that level and playing back-to-back games. I think Joleon said it's really difficult sometimes to see the very best of people when they just dip in and dip out. 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So hopefully tonight Cole can put in a really good performance. It will be interesting to see where he plays. Whether he plays inside in that midfield or Pep surprises us and does something completely different.
Yeah, and then moving to the other end of the pitch, Joleon Alvarez. Laura, I mean, he's kind of obviously took his chance. We had 2 goals and assists, didn't we? And then he was scoring again in the game against Fulham. So great to see him kind of get a run of games as well.
Yeah, because Haaland gets all the headlines, so you kind of forget sometimes, but he came in and scored, assisted, he couldn't do any more really. He works so hard from the front defensively, and yeah, he really pulls the team together. I
wanted to ask you, Laura, because obviously you play, the midfield role so well, and if we just quickly cast back to the Fulham game, we had, Rodri holding, Gundogan, De Bruyne, that were so key in pulling out the performance. How impressed were you with particularly the way they played in that game?
Yeah, I mean, they just play it to perfection, really. Kev's De Bruyne as well. He kind of floats a little bit more, but they always just pick up the perfect spaces and find themselves in. It looks like acres, but they've created that for themselves, so it's impressive to watch.
I know that was so strange. At times, it looked like we still had 11 players on the pitch. Yeah. I did want to ask you, Gareth, on that. How did you see anything of how they did that? Because at any point where we had it on the pitch, it was just like a normal City team. You wouldn't have known Cancelo had gone off.
Yeah, I mean, we were travelling down to Reading for our game, so we were getting little bits of action, watching the highlights, seeing how they coped with being a player down was really, really impressive. The way they worked together as a team, the way that Rodri at times dropped into the back line, Gundogan, Bernardo, you know, this is a really impressive team that works so hard for each other, and you know, to dominate a game when you've lost a player is very, very impressive, but very hard to do.
Yeah, 70 minutes, and the stats we were saying on the show, it was frightening, really. Obviously, maybe going a well-deserved rest. We've got De Bruyne there, who's on the bench, but Gundogan does keep his position. Julian there, bagging the goal as well. Great to see as well, Joleon, of course. That kind of passion at the end of the game as well, wasn't it? From the
of course. When you score so late in a game, it always feels a bit more special. Adrenaline's a little bit higher. And again, similar if you was to concede and drop points, it has a similar effect in a negative way. But yeah, the way they dominated that game with 10 men for so long, it's unique to Man City. I don't know if there's many teams that can operate and play that fluently. And understand their roles. Like I've said, there were so many players rotating into various positions and looking so comfortable doing it.
I was fortunate enough to chat to, as I do, Manuel Akanji on Sunday, and he was saying, I think Pep said to him, said to the team at full time, he doesn't know a team at the moment in Europe that can do what they did for 70 minutes, which I thought was very fair, to be honest. It was amazing. Rico Lewis. Gareth Taylor, I mean, what a couple of weeks he had. Of course, the Champions League performance, and obviously getting another 90 minutes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again, I worked a few sessions with Rico. He was probably just a little bit before my time, but the analyst that we have working with us at the Women's, Jermaine Lopia, worked with Rico, and he said to me for a long time that this guy has got a real good chance. You know, he's very good in a lot of areas, decent on the ball, very intelligent, good physical agility as well, and hard to beat in 1v1. So he's living the dream at the moment and playing really well.
Did you work with Cole? You would have worked with Cole, yeah. What was Cole like to work with?
Cole was great. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Phil in his physical. So when they were 14, both of them, you know, I had Phil for a couple of years, and Phil played in a really good under-16 team that I had Jadon Sancho in that team, Tyrese Campbell, Matt Smith. It was a Joel Atterbury. It was a very, very good team, and Phil was tiny, and Cole was very similar in that respect. But you knew that they could do things that others couldn't, and I think what they both have now, and I've certainly seen this with Cole over the last couple of years, is they've grown physically. They're able to cover the ground, and you know, they have a real effect on the game. I think Phil's been producing real high-level performances, and you know, is a real good example for Cole to try and live up to.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously Cole is now doing that, and as is Rico Lewis as well, again, who is just absolutely buzzing. He must be. I thought if he was back in school on Thursday, that must have been a good day walking into school, mustn't it? Laura, and then how can you see City coming out of the blocks today to take on a Chelsea team? We'll bring you that team news in just a second, but what would you like to see from City today to try and get the win?
I think they'll not really change the way they have been playing lately. They'll control the game and, you know, try and take the wind out of Chelsea's aggressive press, and hopefully they'll be able to get a goal early, which will settle them as well. Yeah,
I mean, a goal, there's sometimes that thing in there about sometimes scoring too early, but you do think with City at the Etihad, getting that goal, hopefully they can kind of kick on.
Get the crowd behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jolene, looking at the bench as well, I mean, Calvin Phillips, we have to mention him, of course. We know the World Cup squad, the England one is going to be coming out tomorrow. I think it's around 2 p.m, but just great to see him come back and be in the squad, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a busy period regardless of the World Cup, Christmas period coming as well, so Pep's going to want to give him minutes at some point just to give him a good run, or a bit of confidence going into that run. Hopefully he makes a squad. It's going to be difficult, obviously, the fact that he hasn't featured, but yeah, just being fit and available is a huge plus for us.
Game plan for you tonight, Gareth, from the team. What do you think, much like Laura said, kind of just do what City do against this Chelsea team?
I think so. I think it'd be interesting to see how Chelsea set up. You know, they've been struggling. They need a good result tonight, or certainly a good performance to take a little bit of the pressure off of Graham Potter, who I think is a very good manager. But it'd be interesting to see how they set up. If they come out and engage, like Laura says, man for man, I think there'd be spaces beyond that City can look to exploit. If they sit off a little bit, you know that this City team are hurt you with the ball physically. Yeah.
Laura, I wanted to ask, obviously you mentioned it before, Haaland has been getting all the plaudits, of course, but in the season so far, obviously, you know, you've got your own season to worry about, but have you, what's been a standout player that maybe hasn't been mentioned, you know, that isn't Haaland? Has anyone stood out to you?
Bernardo.
Oh.
Gotta be.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's just everywhere and always picks perfect passes, gets in great space, and I like him because he's a little guy, isn't he? And he's just like, and he just, I don't know, it never seems to be a problem for him.
Yes.
He can play against anyone.
I mean, it was almost like a new signing, wasn't it? If we think, because there was a bit of that talk in the summer, as we know, and I remember, I mean, like all City fans, think we were going to be devastated to lose him. So for him to stay was massive.
Oh, huge. I thought this was last season, right, when he was close to leaving as well. So I thought it was going to look like he was going. I think he spoke about wanting to play a more regular game. But his attitude didn't affect his performances. And for me, he was the player of the season. I know Kevin got it. But the first part of the season when Kevin wasn't available, I remember the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge. We won 1-0. It was probably one of the best performances I've seen. He played as one of the pivots back there, and he just allowed us to play up because when you're closing him down, he just beats the press with his ability. And then after he can just dribble and turn and stuff. So for me, he's one of the few players that are equally as good in multiple positions.
Yeah, and I think it was the nickname they give him in training is Bubblegum, isn't it? Because they say you can't get the ball off him, basically, which is great. Final word, I just want to mention him, Gomez, the young left back. Obviously, I mean, he's I think started out as a centre attacking mid. From what you've seen, Gareth, have you been impressed with him?
Yeah, I've been really impressed. I think he had big shoes to fill because I thought Alex, provided really good options, particularly. When you think of Alex as well, when he came on against Aston Villa, the last game of the season, he made a big difference to the team and he had a big say in the outcome of that game. So I think Sergio had big shoes to fill, but I think I've been really impressed with him. Yeah. Very good on the ball, very similar to Alex in some respects, So to get that kind of player from a team like Anderlecht as well, and for him to be coming in and playing at the level he's showing has been really impressive.
Yeah, and he's a City fan as well, which is always great news for us fans. OK, so you can see the keepers are just starting to make their way out to warm up. Usually that means the first team won't be too far behind. And we brought you our City team. Chelsea are tonight's opponent, 8 o'clock kickoff. And I can now bring you the Chelsea team news. This is the team selected by Mr. Graham Potter. So Mendy in goal, then we have Chalobah, Koulibaly, Cucurella, Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic captains his side, Denis Zakaria comes into the team as well. We've got Hall there, Ziyech, Brozier and Pulisic. As we then look to the bench, you've got Bettinelli, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, Hutchinson, Raheem Sterling, Aubameyang and Havertz. Just before we get thoughts from our guests today on the Chelsea team, remember, if you want to get involved with the show, please do. We implore you to do that. It's very easy. You just use that number that's down there. You can send us questions. Maybe if you want to speak to the guys about the season in the WSL so far, you can do just that. We're going to be speaking about that as well in just a moment. Or maybe you just want to pass comment on the team. Just get involved with the show. We'll be looking at your WhatsApps in just a little bit. Joleon, come to you. Obviously, Sterling on the bench, but were there any other surprises there when looking at the team? It's always funny, isn't it, with the Carabao Cup middle of the week, to see what team you're going to get.
Again, I'll probably not as strong as I thought he was going to go, due to potential pressure that you think he's under, and there only been one game before the break. Obviously, Hall, young lad, you obviously knows and watched him in training, but that's given me more confidence.
Really?
Seeing their team has given me more confidence that we'll win this game. And even watching them walk in, there's a stone face you have as a player when you're approaching the game, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a good place.
Yes.
When I've seen Aubameyang, then frustration coming off on the weekend, and then you potentially lose players doing that.
Yeah.
Like not starting them in the next game. We've seen it with Jack, like he came off, but then he starts the next game, so you instantly get them back. So there may be an issue there with him, but yeah, for me, it's a little bit of pressure to win this game more than us.
Gareth, you mentioned it before, but speaking of Graham Potter, and I'm with you. I think he's a brilliant coach. I loved his Swansea team. We've seen what he did with Brighton. Quite the job coming into Chelsea. How do you think he has fared so far? Because it is difficult, isn't it?
Well, he made a really good start, didn't he? I think he did really well in Europe. Did really well in the league. It's only up until the last few games that they've had some disappointing results by their standards. But I'm a little bit surprised at that team, if I'm honest. I think there's some good players in there. I like Brozier.
Brozier, yeah.
And I like Chalobah. I think Chalobah's a good player as well, but that's a way more inexperienced team, I would say, than the City one that we're seeing. OK, we've got Rico in there and Cole, young players, but that team, the rest of the team there for City is very experienced and a lot of good know-how, which I think could be the deciding factor tonight.
4 players as well. I mean, there's some names there that we've been used to seeing, Laura, of course, in the Premier League, but some not so much. How difficult is it when you are maybe playing alongside players that you're not used to playing in the starting 11 with every week?
Yeah, there's a certain rhythm that you get into when you play week in, week out with the same players, and then it does take maybe a part of the game then to adjust, and you think, oh, this player, I know how I played previously with this player, but when the names change, it does knock your rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, I think we
can't ask her that in front of her manager. Sticky with that. Cheers, Cal. Horrible guy, you mate. Horrible guy.
We saw the same. Come on. We saw the same in the Champions League game. Was it? I think it was the final game of the group was against Seville, wasn't it? And it was funny. It was the same thing played out. You could see that it just wasn't quite.
Yeah, but I think that then he tweaked it at half time, and then he understood how the game was going. But yeah, I think these players, this generation of player, are more accustomed to rotation now. Like when me and Gareth were playing, it was like if you won, you stayed in the team. Superstition played a lot of part of selection, so it was a case of you were being dropped, where now it's rotated, so it's a different understanding. But yeah, there will be elements of it that impact players. I think defensively, it's probably more apparent. I think you have to work as a partnership in certain areas of the field where attacking players can tend to freestyle and do their own thing and play off the cuff a little bit more. But that's underplay their importance.
Looking at their kind of forward six, obviously Dennis Zakaria has come into the team. You mentioned Hall. We've got Ziyech, Broza and Pulisic. Where are their threats going to be tonight, do you think, then, Gareth?
I think they'll probably play off the front man a little bit more, be a bit more direct, get the ball up to the front end players, because they've got some dangerous players at the top end of the pitch, and they'll probably try to exploit, I would say, maybe City in behind the fullbacks. You know, City always try and play with these inverted fullbacks, which will leave sometimes spaces down the sides. They'll probably look to exploit that. You would think someone like Raheem would be ideal with his pace to exploit those spaces, but that might be something he's thinking about as the game goes on.
Speaking of Raheem, obviously, hopefully we'll get a warm welcome here back at the Etihad Stadium. But I wondered, because he knows City, do you think will Graham Potter have come to him, do you think, and gone, right, what can you tell us about them? Does that kind of...
I would do that. I would definitely do that. He knows it inside out, so yeah, I mean, I would do that.
Yeah, I guess he's got Joleon?
I don't know if you're going to come to him before or after you're not telling him he's playing.
Oh, true.
That's the thing, that you might get a different answer. I might tell you exactly what you want to hear, you know what I mean, if I'm not playing. But no, listen, Raheem will get a positive reception. He should. He's a legend of this club, so yeah, he definitely should be getting a warm welcome.
Loftus-Cheek, Laura, I mean, I'm really enjoying seeing him a little bit more, because the physique on him is great, but obviously as well his balance and his technical ability is great. Quite a presence, isn't he, in midfield to come up against someone that you could say at least looks the size of Rodri in a way. Do you like the look of Loftus-Cheek?
I've always enjoyed watching him. I think he's so powerful, and like you say, he's so technical for a big guy as well. And he can score goals, defends. He's a great player.
Yeah, he's got an all-round package, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, well, he's been playing wing-back lately, hasn't he? But yeah, he's obviously high intelligence to play a number of positions, but it's only injuries really that have hampered his progression, because physically, technically, he's top.
Yeah. So, slightly younger Chelsea team than expected here, so maybe the omens are good for a win tonight. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed for just that. But now we've brought you the team news, I'm really excited to get into this, because we're going to focus on our women's team. And it's so great to have you in the studio. Simple questions, we begin with Laura. How have you found the season so far for yourself?
Yeah, good. Yeah. We had a lot of new players to bed in, and we didn't have a massive amount of time with them before the season started. And you could see that maybe in a couple of our earlier performances, but now I think we're in a really good place.
Yeah.
On a roll, so it's a shame the international break's here at the minute, because we could have kept going, but we're in a good place.
Let's have a little look at your form, and then we're going to play out some of your, I think, 2 goals against Aston Villa, was it, as well? But you seem to have been hitting a really nice bit of rhythm yourself this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, I play with some great players around me, Hempo on the left, and Bunny up top. It's just great players to be working with day in, day out, so they help a lot.
Can you talk us through this absolute cracker? Because this is... Get ready for this.
I just...
Oh, come on!
Yeah, it's a shame we didn't win, but yeah.
You can still celebrate the goal.
Yeah, I mean, Chloe, I see her breaking a neck going forward, and I was like, right, if I don't make the box, Gaz is going to shout at me. So getting to the edge, and yeah, just it fell to me nice.
What was harder, the control or the finish?
I think the finish, because I wasn't sure whether players were going to be around, like close to me, but actually it worked out right. Yeah.
Laura mentioned there, Gareth, has been a bit of a rebuilding project. How have you found that for yourself?
Well, a challenge.
Yeah.
There's no doubt it's a challenge, but I think when you've got good pros in the building, like Laura, like a few of the other players we had who were existing, it helps. It helps massively. So I think it bodes well for the future. I think we've probably had quite a transition of players out and players coming in, and like Laura said, that can take time sometimes. You need time, and if you're given time, you can start to see some really good things, and I think we're seeing that at the moment. And I think the future is really exciting with this team.
Yeah, I've got to say, we can't not mention, speaking of exciting talents, Bonnie Shaw, top scorer of the WSL, just seems to really have kind of found a bit of a groove this season, Gareth.
Yeah, I think she's really well supported by the players around her, the wingers, the likes of Laura and Dana, Vicky Lasada. You know, when you've got players around you that are providing good opportunities like the one you're seeing now, that's allowing Bonnie to excel. But I think one of the biggest factors will be she's always scored goals. She's always scored goals. She scored goals for Jamaica. She was a top scorer in the French league in an unfashionable team compared to some of the big teams that were in there, and she still outscored everyone. So had a good season last year, had competition with Ellen White for the number 9 shirt, but I think had a really positive season, and I think now she's really grabbed a hold of that number 9 shirt, and she's really benefiting from that. Nice assist there, Coombsy.
Thank you.
Lovely. I mean, it's funny, we were saying off show, weren't we, that, you know, we have Haaland doing what he's doing in the men's team, and then we've got Bunny, you know, bossing it over it in the WSL. For a midfielder as well, it must be great to know that you've got that at the other end of the top end of the pitch.
I mean, she just bullies people, and sometimes they win the ball back, but then she gets it back again straight away. You're like, how did she do that? Yeah, it's just literally, she's a female Haaland.
Yeah, it's been so great to see. And some of the other new signings as well, how have they been settling in?
Yeah, really well. I think everyone's hit the ground running, to be honest, considering, like we were saying, they didn't have a lot of time to learn our methodology, our way of playing. But they've brought a real fresh energy and great quality to us. And yeah, I can't think of one that hasn't really settled in really well, so it's great.
I mean, Joleon, the settling in thing, I mean, it seems to be happening. It's difficult, but when I look at, well, you know, the men's team now, with players seem to be able to come in. They have to learn the Pep system, but they seem to settle quickly. Saying the women's team settle quickly. It's the environment, isn't it, and the culture that you come into, I guess, for players that plays a big part.
It's exactly that, because, again, having moved clubs and found it difficult, you underestimate how important that is, because it's not just yourself. A lot of the time they're moving with family members as well, so have to take time to bed into the city as well. So in regards to the culture and the environment that City football group have created, is vitally important that it keeps that harmonious kind of level, because it's hard for players, especially when you're coming from overseas. A lot of players come from overseas and different cultures, language barriers and stuff. So yeah, it's vitally important that you make a good environment.
I think Akanji is a real case in point. Yeah. You know, I think he had 2 training sessions and Pep threw him in, and he looked like he'd been playing for City for a long time. And there's a lot of unforeseen work that goes behind that. Obviously, extensive recruitment to look at really competent and bright players, really good, with good knowledge and good experience and good understanding. But I think the way he came in and settled straight away was due to a number of factors, and this team, like we said, it changes a lot, but regardless, you always see a real decent level of performance.
It's hard. I mean, Gareth, I remember as well, because as you say, there was a bit of an overhaul in the summer. Obviously, it was a slightly slow start to the season. For yourself in that moment, I'm just curious, you know, because as you know, like even with Graham Potter now, the noise starts coming in. As a manager, kind of what are the steps you take to kind of, you know, actually go, right, I just need to kind of block it all out, you know? How do you, what's your process, I guess, is what?
Yeah, I suppose, like, the first thing is you take perspective and have obviously good people around you, I think, to keep you on the straight and narrow. And I've always had this saying of stick to the process. Now, everyone's process might be different. We had a similar situation beginning of last season with a hell of a lot of injuries, players having to play out of position a little bit, results not kind of going our way. And I think the second half of the season we really proved by sticking to what we do really well. We knew that things would turn. Sometimes you don't get that time, like you say. It's really hard. But I think it's just really having a good support group around you, shutting out the noise, focusing on what you do, working tremendously hard. And I think keeping all of that stuff away from the players is really important, and asking the players, don't worry about mistakes. I'll take all of the hits. You go and enjoy your football.
Yeah, nice. And then for you players as well, I guess, you know, because any player, you never want to lose a game. For you guys as well, I guess it's again trusting, I'm thinking, and then also just keeping an eye and believing that you're going to get the results.
Yeah, because in training every day we can see the levels that we hit, so it is really frustrating when the result doesn't go your way. But we have, as a group, every faith that we can go on and do really good things this season.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, to say it still feels like it's a bit of a new team that we're seeing, but, you know, you're really flying now, but it feels this is just the tip of the iceberg of what could potentially come for this team.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in a groove at the minute. There were parts of the game, I don't know if Gaz would agree, that felt comfortable on the weekend, even though we hadn't scored by half-time. It kind of, for me, it felt like it was a matter of time. And I think we're going into the games with that feeling now, which hasn't always been the case. And, you know, it's still so early in the season, so we know there's so much to come. Who
are you eyeing as, like, do you think, obviously I think United are doing really well this season. Who are the big kind of, I guess, oppositions to worry about, do you think, for the WSL?
It's always Chelsea, Arsenal, United.
Yeah. United, because I think they're top at the moment, aren't they? Am I right in saying that, Gareth? They're top of the league?
Yeah. Arsenal
top. Yeah. United had a decent start. You know, they lost their first game at the weekend. And the thing is with this league, I've mentioned it so many times, it's a 22-game season, 12 teams. You know, I've always asked, can it be bigger? Because I think, you know, my first season, we lost one game and still didn't win the league.
Yeah.
So there's no room for error at all. It really is. A draw can really feel like a defeat, and a defeat can feel like the end of the earth. So it's really difficult. You've got to be really consistent, and we've seen that Chelsea have been that over the last few years, and we've been there with them, but not quite able to sustain it, and that's the challenge. But I think it's one that we're all really working hard to overhaul.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of meeting the challenges as well, we've got some players that are doing it on an individual basis as well. I mean, Lauren Hemp has won the Athletic Women's Rising Star of the Season award. What's Lauren like to play with?
We call her road runner because she you can just give her the ball and then she's just off.
She goes.
Yeah, she's off, and her like close ball control, her low centre of gravity. I wouldn't like to play against her.
No, Joleon, mate, you wouldn't like to come against Lauren.
No, yeah, she moves well, to be fair. Like, she glides through players and stuff, so exciting one to watch.
Another mention as well, and you'll be familiar with her on this show as well, Esme Morgan. Obviously had that injury as well, which was last season, but come back into the team, back in the England team, and captain of the side as well against Reading, Gareth.
Yeah, I think fully deserved by Esme. I think she's a top talent, and when I first came into this role, she'd been out on loan at Everton, getting valuable game time and experience, and I think when I first came in, the plan was potentially to send her on loan again. I worked with her for a week and said no chance, she needs to stay, and you know, she did some really good things in that first season with me. We lost her for all of last season, unfortunately. And she's reaping the benefits now of having a good attitude, good athletic ability, very good technical ability, can play in a number of positions, and she's incredibly bright. So I think it's great, and she's a really good girl to work with as well, and really popular.
Right, in saying as well, it's kind of similar to what the men's team do, is that you have a group of captains in the women's team, is that right?
Yeah, we have a leadership group as voted for by the players. So there's Esme, Vicky, oh my God.
Go on. I'm not helping you.
Steph and Alex.
Alex, yeah.
So it's a well-rounded group.
Alex Greenwood as well, I mean, has been absolutely colossal, hasn't she?
Yeah, I've known and played with Alex, and she's for a long time, and she's come on so much, and she's just a natural leader in our team, and yeah, she just embodies how we want to play.
I was watching a little highlight reel earlier this afternoon of some of her tackles. My goodness.
To be fair, I go to the gym a lot, and she's recovering or prepping us for something a lot. She's always in the gym working out, so she's obviously a good professional and takes care of that side of it.
We couldn't not mention, of course, there's a big game happening right here at the Etihad Stadium, 11th of December. Get your tickets. I'm going to be coming down. I can't wait. Derby Day at the Etihad. Gareth, how are you feeling about that fixture?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, there's quite a few games to concentrate on before that, but I think it's a nice game. A lot of excitement around it, a lot of interest around it, getting lots of requests from family and friends for tickets. So yeah, I think it'd be great, and the more supporters we can get in, if we can eclipse what happened maybe 4 years ago to the crowd that we had in that occasion, then I think it'd be great.
Yeah, well, we're going to be endeavouring to do that. You can get the details; they're on the screen now for how you can be there. I really can't wait for that, and for you players to play in a derby. I can always just imagine it's just got that extra edge, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's getting bigger every year as well, because now they are seen as a proper rival in the women's game. So it's yeah, it's one we really can't wait for.
Surprised I haven't got your goal from the derby. What a finish that was.
Yeah. I know. Listen, can't get the staff sometimes. Producer Darryl. All right.
Darryl, spending an hour briefing.
We'll get that when you come back. Well, listen, mancity.com is where you get your tickets for that derby at the Etihad. That's the 11th of December. Next 3 fixtures for our women's team are Everton away, Sunderland in the Continental Cup, and then Brighton at home. Right, seeing as we've got a player-turned-manager in the studio, and I know Joleon, you've been coaching as well. Well, we've got a little video of another man who's out on that pitch warming up. Ilkay Gundogan is looking at doing the transitions coaching when he finishes, of course. Hopefully we'll have a few more seasons of him at City. But here's how Joleon got on when he sat down with him.
Nice. And away from the actual session, how long have you been thinking about coaching? When did you feel that you wanted to start that journey?
To be honest with you, not that long. I mean, of course, I had some great coaches in my career so far. You know, I don't think I need to mention them all, but I feel very privileged, you know, with the managers that I could work under. And that I'm still working here, you know, with Pep. So obviously it appeared something to be very close. And by starting my B license last year, I wanted to explore a little bit, you know, discover if it's actually something for me. And so far it has been great. I had the opportunity to work with the under-16 team here at City for a few sessions. I still have a great chat, you know, with their managers, if you want to say so. And it's definitely something that I think about. And on the other side, I want to take my time, you know. I don't want to rush into it. I don't want to go straight into the A license now. I want to take my time. I'm still a player, you know, and I still want to enjoy that. And then one day, when I retire, I want to go through the process and see how far I can come.
Pep spoke about his intelligence on the pitch, his IQ. I think I remember reading an interview and he said the highest IQ he'd ever seen in a player was Manuel Neuer. He says, but Ilkay Gundogan is almost ahead of him. That can only bode well for when he makes that transition, do you think, Joleon?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In terms of his understanding of the game, I don't think there's many players that have more. And like we said, he's able to execute in multiple positions. We've seen him top goal scorer a few years ago as a 9, you know what I mean? So you're not... Physically, you wouldn't necessarily pick his attributes in the greatest respect, but in terms of his understanding and how he can play the roles, there's not many better. But you know, speaking to him, he's so calm about it. He sees it, the picture's so easy. It's just whether now he can deliver them, because there's one thing understanding it and then delivering that to a player that may not see it is a totally different aspect of coaching. And obviously, Gareth will know better than me, but he's very sure of what he wants to do and the process he wants to take.
Gareth, for you, what motivated you to go into coaching? Was it something that you kind of always, in the back of your head, thought about doing, or did it kind of present itself a bit later?
I think most footballers will have that void in their life, and I think it's whether you go into probably a lot what Joleon's done, which is a number of things. And do you know what I mean? But you have, Joel, you've done a bit of coaching, you've done obviously the media, and you're in football. And I think that's the main thing, is you want to stay in football in some capacity, whether it's an agent, whether it's being involved higher up. I think it's a very difficult space to kind of fill the void, and for me it was a natural transition. It was possibly coaching is the closest thing to replicating play, and it still never does, but it's probably the next best thing. And you know, talking about Gundo, I watched some of his coaching sessions, and you know, you can see that he's got it. I liked his manner with the players, and I think as a player he's an incredibly intelligent player. Like you say, we were talking about Bernardo before, him, Kevin and Gundo we've been blessed to have those players here. We've had obviously David Silva, Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, but I think those 3 players have really helped Pep and helped this club be as successful as it has been, because their intelligence is second to none. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on and has a really good coaching career.
Yeah, and you're obviously coaching as well with the England team as well, with the young lads. How are you finding that, Joleon?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it more than I thought. It's not something I want to consider myself doing long term. It's like full-time coaching, doing it to get experience and understand how the processes work from a coach's perspective. But yeah, you kind of have to have a level of passion and to want to do that. I don't have that yet. I'm enjoying various things.
Yes.
I'll do, and lucky enough to have options like that. But listen, the coaching side, I love talking about football, especially more on an individual basis. So that is the thing that probably gravitates me towards that side of it, is speaking to players individually or smaller groups, just the details of the game rather than the whole bigger picture and methodology.
It's funny, I think when we've had some of your ex-teammates on the show, and they all earmark and said they kind of, they felt just who you were and the way you played, they could see that would be a natural journey for you. I think they said the same about, any teammates of Pep, said they could see him going into coaching, same with Arteta. What do you think those kind of qualities are? Is it the position you play in, or do you think it's just, like you say, that understanding of the game?
Well, I think that's a part of it, but I also think it's kind of trying to help. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to, you see a player, and there's been many players that coaches worked with over the years that haven't gone on and fulfilled their potential for various reasons, and you always feel that that's that kind of bit of failure, and did I help them as much as I possibly could in getting the very best out of them? That's the challenge, and it's, there's nothing better than seeing Cole Palmer playing on the biggest stage in Champions League or in the Carabao Cup tonight. There's no better feeling. But there's so many people that have helped in Cole's journey, as an example, and Phil's journey, that you feel a small part when you feel a small part in that process when you see them out on the big stage. And there's no better feeling.
Yeah, it's so rewarding. We can't not mention as well, of course, speaking of players, Vincent Kompany, I'm guessing you would always know, as well, you look at him, probably always had that in him, Joleon.
100%. Vinny was a leader, natural born leader. And it's funny, I spoke to Vinny about it, and early, I know he's only been doing it a few seasons, but he believes he'll be a better manager than player.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know why he thinks that?
He just thinks he'll be better at it. Yeah, and he said it with so much confidence, like he wasn't just saying it for the sake of it. It was like genuine belief, and like knowing Vinny, like he may not have the explanation, but he'll know and like believe why that is the case.
Yes.
And well, he's obviously doing well at Burnley.
Yes.
But in regards to the hours it's going to take, the detail needed, he'll definitely put that in. The work ethic needed, they're the easy things for Vinny to do and apply. So I'm not holding it against him, that statement. It wouldn't be surprised me if he did. And we always said that about Vinny. Like, if Vinny said he was going to be the president of anywhere, like Congo or Belgium or what, no, serious. If he set his mind to something like that, it's happening. So, yeah, what Vinny says doesn't necessarily surprise us.
No, it's funny as well, because whenever you see him talk about some of them big goals he scored, he said, I know when I'm going to score in them big games.
Oh, yeah?
He says, I'm going to score today. And there was the derby, the head of the 1-0. He said, the night before, he said, I knew I was going to score. Amazing. It's mad. How much does it take over your life, Gareth, coach?
Oh, it does, yeah. It consumes you. Yeah, I think...
not selling it, Gareth. You're not selling it.
I'm not selling it, no. Not inspiring the next generation of coaches.
I'm out.
No, it's a passion. It's non-stop. I think if you can keep kind of an equal arm's length distance on success and failure, I think that's really key. And I think Vincent, when Joleon was talking about him before, and I never had the pleasure of playing with Vincent, but you can see that he's what I was talking about earlier, where he'll take full responsibility for how the team delivers. They went to Sheffield United last weekend, conceded 4 goals. I think it was 4, 5?
Yeah, 5
goals, yeah. But to turn it around like they did last night, and all of a sudden, that tells you something about him as a guy, that he's gone, actually, guys, now listen, we knew we weren't good enough, but we need to be better, and I think, this is a real positive thing. And I love how he talks about how big he's going to be as a coach, rather than what he felt he could do as a player. And he had obviously a fantastic career, but I really like that self-belief, which I think a lot of players probably struggle with when they're actually players.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually come out of it and go into coaching and go, well, do you know what? I doubted myself a little bit there as a player. I'm not going to do that as a coach.
Yes.
You're going to have some good times, you're going to have some tough moments, but I think if you try and remain consistent throughout and, like I said, keep a good support network around you, you ultimately, pretty much you'll do well most of the time.
You do all right.
Yeah.
What did you find was there anything that surprised you about doing the transition, or anything you found, I guess like difficult maybe when kind of first doing the journey? Yeah, from going from playing to coaching.
Well, I think standing up in front of the players. I mean, I was standing up in front of the players for the first time, and I did it at Wrexham. I was fortunate. I had Dean Saunders, who was the manager of Wrexham at the time. I was a player coach. He allowed me to take the reserves, and I'm standing up in front of my teammates, who I shared the dressing room with, and having to sometimes call them out. But I used empathy and said, look, I've been there, and I think they preferred that it wasn't me saying I've never had a bad game, because I had many. And I think the players obviously feel, if they feel that you're with them, you'll have a much better outcome with them.
Yeah, I mean, Joleon, you standing up in front of Joleon, can you imagine?
That's the worst part of coaching for me.
Yeah. Is it for you as well?
Like, addressing the group, is hard, and again, it's not natural for everyone to do. I didn't want to do that as a player. Like, I never really stood up and addressed the team. I would address players individually, and again, like to think I had the respect enough of my teammates to do that, but I wasn't like, I didn't want that attention that comes with that, you know what I mean? So in regards to the coaching side of it, that's probably where I would find it most difficult.
I think the hardest part is leaving players out. That's the hardest part of the job, because players they want to play, they train supremely well. You feel you want to go this way in a certain game, and that doesn't include them, and you have to be honest with them.
Yeah.
But you still have to keep them on side by trying to encourage them, and ultimately you're going to upset people.
Is it slightly easier now? There is rotation, because again, going back to when we played, you might be out for like 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Where that isn't tend to be the case now. A player can get dropped 1 or 2 games, and all of a sudden you're back in.
Interesting to see how Pep does it with the quick turnaround in games. They're playing every 3 or 4 days. The team, we pretty much know, is going to change. One day it'll be Gundo, the next game it'll be Bernardo. Then it's good. It's making sure you keep an even keel, I think, as a player, and keep yourself ready, keep yourself handy, knowing that you might be back in the next game regardless. And you could come into a game and score a couple of goals and come out of the team, in this team, because they produce such high levels.
It does feel on that rotation thing now, City more than anyone. I mean, I now have said for the last few years, we don't have a strongest 11.
No.
You might have some key players in there. I mean, De Bruyne, as you know, is the best midfielder in the world at the moment. But like actually nailing that thing of really buying into the 60 games, and we all just need to make sure we get as far as we can in every competition.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's the beauty of having the squad, but creating that is not as easy as what Pep's making it look, how he makes it look, because as much as we have key players, Kevin De Bruyne has missed large periods of the season in the last few seasons, and it hasn't derailed the team.
Yes.
So to create that methodology, the atmosphere and the balance of selecting players, not solely based on previous performances, is selecting them on who the opposition is and who he feels will get the result, because that's vitally important. Like a skill set of Cole Palmer, Riyad Mahrez may not be the right skill set to beat Brentford on the weekend. So regardless, like I said, how well they play today, it doesn't guarantee them a place. And as long as as a player, as long as it's fair, you can understand it.
Yes.
Again, you may not agree with every decision that the manager makes, but I always wanted it to be fair. So if it's a reason for me, it's got to be a reason for my teammate.
What I love about this team, though, is I think they're performing at such a high level, and over the period since Pep's been here, we've been kind of blown away with some of the football we've seen. But I think this season, especially, some of the levels that have been shown by this team have been incredible. And what I love about them is what you see when things aren't going their way. The reactions.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I've seen some of the training sessions, post-training sessions after a defeat. You wouldn't know that they've lost the game a couple of days earlier.
Really?
Yeah, the attitude, and there's no room for sulking, there's no room for sad faces. You know, the manager won't have it, and the players won't have it. They really drive the culture and the work ethic as well, which I think is always going to stand you in good stead.
And as we think we kind of, this might be an obvious question, Gareth, but do we attribute most of that, because it start with the coach? It all comes from Pep.
Yeah, it's the culture created, you know, and you might be able to entice a player here to this team who's potentially not the right personality, is an incredible player, but demands to play each and every game, and we could all think about those players and where they sit in world football at the moment. But what you have here is top talent and top people as well.
Yes.
And that's the support group around the players as well, which is not just Pep, it's all of his staff, it's his close staff, it's the canteen staff, it's absolutely everyone at CFA. goes towards it being a real good culture and an enjoyable culture, and we're going to suffer in some moments, but it's like, what are we going to do when the going gets tough? What are we going to see? And I think we've always seen some real positive evidence of that.
Absolutely, and I agree. I think some of the football I've seen this year is the best football I've ever seen. If you've just tuned in, thank you for joining us. Match Day Live. We've got Gareth Taylor and Joleon Lescott with me in the studio. The lads have been warming up. They've just started to make their way back into the tunnel, so we've got this 8 o'clock kickoff against Chelsea. We'll be looking back to the fixture in a second, but we of course could not talk about the Champions League draw that took place this week. So we're in the last 16 once again. I think that might be our 10th year in a row now for Manchester City. Don't quote me on that. But of course, RB Leipzig. And Gareth, you were saying actually before the show, you've been following the coach as well and the team. They are a team that we have played, of course, last season.
Yeah, Marco Rose, who was originally at Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg, and did really well there, won the championship and went on to Borussia Dortmund. Didn't probably get as long as he would have preferred there, and has come back in at Leipzig, and the team is functioning really well this season. You know, I've been watching them recently, and really good striker at the top end of the pitch, scoring goals. You know, it's a decent draw for City, but I think it's also a really difficult game as well.
Speaking of the game last year, and we're looking at some goals here. Nkunku, Joleon, hat-trick. I think he's only one of 3 players to score a hat-trick against Pep City's team. Hell of a player. Yeah,
his stats are high. He's obviously a high-level player, quality. So he's going to be one to watch. But again, they probably are reliant on him, but they would look at us and say, Haaland, we're relying on Haaland, but they're a good team. They play with high energy. The manager will possibly know Haaland, Erling, from his days at Salzburg. So in regards to understanding a player, he might have more than Pep. But if you're looking at the draw and the team, I was just pleased we wasn't getting PSG. I would have took these. It's different in these knockouts because you have to, but I think regardless, this is a team that play to win anyway. Yes. And I think if a team that plays to win, they might score multiple goals, but they give up a lot of opportunities to score. So I'm hoping that's the case.
Cheeky mentioned after the draw, saying as well, one thing that hopefully will play in our favour a little bit is the fact we do know them a little bit. We know we can beat them here, which we have done. Maybe need to try and do a little bit better away from home. Does that help the team, do you think, when approaching this fixture, when it comes around, knowing we've been to the stadium, we've had that experience at that ground?
Yeah, recently as well. You know, yes. Talking in recent years, last 2 or 3 years, played this team a lot, so they'll be well aware of them. They'll be well aware of the threats of Nkunku and the rest of the team they have there. So that's good in that respect. But I think, like you were saying before, the fact that 10 years now City have been to this stage, I think Pep's always spoken about always being there, being more familiar with it, need to get to semi-finals, need to get to finals, and hopefully, you know, with this team, the way they're playing, I think they've got a good opportunity this year, but it's so tough. It's so tough. It's not always necessarily the best team that wins.
No.
And City have been close previously, and if they can get through this stage, and who knows.
You can't help but think as well, Joleon, looking at the rest of the draw, it boded well for moving further in the competition. Obviously, some big teams are going to go out. You've got Real Madrid, Liverpool, Bayern Munich and PSG, Chelsea and Milan. So already, any of them teams dropping out, you kind of think, all right, I'm thankful we don't have to come across them.
Yeah, of course. And if we do face, in my opinion, an English team, we'll go into that tie with an advantage psychologically. Again, Champions League is different, but I still believe City are going to be the team that no one wants to face. So as this competition gets on to the latter stages, teams are going to want to avoid us for the reasons known from previous years. But again, there's experience that counts in this competition. Like Gareth said, it's not always the best team that we seen last year, that we dominated Real Madrid for majority of them legs.
Yes.
But they just have something about them that meant that they could get through the tie.
Yeah.
Even in the final, all the ties from the last stages or the knockout round, Pep weren't the best team, but they found something.
It's that rub of the green, isn't it? I think Pep always said, particularly with cup competitions. I mean, you've got the Continental Cup coming up as well. There is that massive element. I think there's a lot of pundits outside of it seem to forget it, but that luck plays such a big part, doesn't it, in cup competitions?
Yeah, it does. I think sometimes, we always have this saying of your name's on the cup when you get that kind of luck going your way or not your way.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's the process that Pep's always working to and trying to get to the latter stages of competitions, and you give yourself the best possible chance. I think when you're doing that, and this team pretty much is always there, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, and you have a real good chance of lifting silverware like they have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using Gundogan as my omen. He's been to the Champions League final twice, not won it, third time lucky this year. That would be lovely. And of course, Matchday Live will be with you for that game as well as all the others throughout the season. The atmosphere is building here in the Etihad behind us. The smoke's coming out. That'll be because we've got another fantastic laser light show coming your way, which we'll be able to treat you to as well at the end of this show. And don't forget as well, when we wrap up here, you can find commentary over on the Manchester City app. Alistair Mann is joined by the GOAT, Mr. Shaun. GOAT has got your commentary. So if you go on the Manchester City app, you can have Alistair Mann and Shaun GOAT. You're guiding you through the game, right. And they will also be able to bring you some of the light show as well and their thoughts. So that's coming up in, well, 10 minutes till kickoff, so not long to go. So we'll bring it back to the game against Chelsea. You can see our starting 11 just there. And Laura, you're back in the studio. Wow. Did it all go all right for you?
Yeah, it's good.
We missed you.
Peered through the smoke?
Yes, yeah. Gosh, I mean, I hope you clear, because last time they did this, they didn't clear quick enough. When you're in this, you couldn't see the game for the first 10 minutes. It was so funny, but they'll get it right. Joleon, we've touched upon it before, but what are you hoping to see from the City team today for anyone who's just joining?
Hoping to see a win, but again, I'm expecting to see good football. Regardless of result, I expect us to dominate possession. I know Chelsea have been tough for us in recent years, but again, I expect us to dominate, make it difficult for them in and out of possession. So hopefully, an exciting game.
And as we look to that team, who do you think could be a game changer or a real difference maker, do you think, on the pitch tonight, Gareth?
I think obviously Alvarez is probably key to what City do, depending on the position he takes up. Riyad as well, we know the ability that Riyad has. I think he's probably not playing at the levels we've seen previously on a consistent basis, but I think he's a very talented player. And I think him and Jack will be putting Chelsea on the back foot early on in the game.
Speaking of Jack, what have you made of Jack's season so far, Laura, as well?
Yeah, he's good. He's played a lot, which is good, and he's contributing more and more every game. And Pep obviously has a lot of trust in him because he plays a lot. So yeah, he's starting to add sort of goals, assists to his game as well, which is what he'll want and what the fans want as well.
Absolutely. I think there was a great stat to say. I think he's been involved in the most chances created. It started with him more than any other City team, and you can actually take a look at one of his goals as well now. And Joleon, he seems to be coming back with that confidence that we saw at Villa. I found in particularly this season.
Yeah, when Jack is going to potentially have a good game because he plays with a smile on his face. I think he's a likeable guy by every fan, probably not the other side of the town, but in regards to Jack's personality, I think everyone takes to him, especially from an England perspective as well. So seeing him enjoy his football means a lot, because again, I know him personally, so yeah, there has been moments when it's been difficult. That comes with the pressure of playing for a top team, and now he's doing that and performing. And like I said, Pep trusts him.
And final word, looking at the opposition, Chelsea today, what do you think we can expect to see from them, Gareth?
I think the game as it develops will be really interesting because they both got strong benches tonight, City and Chelsea. So I think the longer the game goes on and physical levels might drop a little bit, it'll be interesting to see quality coming from City's bench, but I think Chelsea bench is also looking quite strong as well.
I mean, it's frightening, isn't it? When you look at that bench, Laura, it's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stacked. Yeah, it's good though. Good options for the second half. If it is 0-0 or a draw going in the second half, he's got a lot of people he can call on.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's not long to go here. The light show is well and truly getting underway. So the final thing before we hand over to our commentary team, Alistair Mann and Shaun, go to his predictions from our guests in the studio. Joleon, I'm going to begin with you, please, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 City.
3-1 Manchester City. Love that. Gareth?
2-1 City.
2-1. You thinking, Laura?
1-0 City.
1-0, solid. Well, City wins all round. We love that. Well, come join us at half-time, then come join us at full-time. We'll be reflecting on what we see out there. And just remember as well, we are love and remind all fans, wherever you are watching, if you're here in the stadium, on your phone or at home, please join us in creating a very positive environment and atmosphere where everyone is welcomed, accepted, and has a fantastic match day experience. My friends, enjoy the game. And it's now over to Alistair Mann with the commentary. Enjoy the light show. See you at half-time. Come on, City.